Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Imagine for a moment that the key to controlling type 2 diabetes has been hiding not in a pill bottle, not in another strict diet plan, but deep inside your own body, right in the invisible world of your gut. Many people believe that diabetes is simply about sugar and insulin. Yet science has been uncovering a far more fascinating story. The trillions of microorganisms living inside the intestines may hold the true power over blood sugar. Before we dive into this, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered if your gut might actually be sabotaging your efforts? If you're curious already, type the number 1 in the comments right now, because by the end of this video, you will see diabetes in a way you've never seen before. And stay with me until the very end, because I have a message that could truly change how you approach your health. Let's begin with a real case that illustrates this hidden connection. A man in his late 50s had been battling type 2 diabetes for over a decade. Despite following conventional treatments, daily medication, careful monitoring, and even lifestyle changes, his blood sugar refused to stabilize. His doctors were puzzled, because by all accounts he was doing everything right. It wasn't until specialists turned their attention to his gut microbiome that a breakthrough happened. By shifting the balance of bacteria living in his intestines, suddenly his insulin became more effective, his glucose levels began to stabilize, and within months, his medication needs dropped dramatically. His story isn't an isolated miracle. It is part of a growing body of evidence that reveals the gut as the hidden player in diabetes. So how does this work? When the balance of bacteria in your gut tips in the wrong direction, it can interfere directly with the pancreas, the organ responsible for releasing insulin. Harmful microbes release toxins and inflammatory signals that block the body's ability to use insulin properly. It's like having static on a radio. No matter how strong the signal, the message doesn't come through. In this case, insulin is produced, but the body's cells don't hear it clearly. The result? Rising blood sugar, frustration, and a constant struggle. But here's where it gets interesting. You don't need advanced laboratory equipment to get an idea of whether your gut is in balance. There are simple signs you can look for, right in your daily life. In the morning, pay attention to your breath. A sour or unpleasant odor that appears overnight can indicate fermentation in the gut from bacteria feeding on sugars. Your tongue is another mirror. It should be clean and pink, but a coated whitish layer may signal microbial imbalance. And then there are your stools. They should be formed but not too hard, easy to pass but not watery. Paying attention to these every day, clues can give you a window into the state of your inner ecosystem. Scientists have also discovered something remarkable called enterotypes. Think of them as bacterial fingerprints, patterns of which species dominate in your gut. Some enterotypes are protective, helping regulate blood sugar naturally, while others are harmful, pushing the body toward inflammation and insulin resistance. Here's the hopeful part. Your enterotype is not fixed. In fact, it can be shifted and remodeled within just a few months depending on what you eat, how you live, and even how you manage stress. This means that no matter how old you are or how long you've been struggling with diabetes, your gut can still be trained to support you instead of working against you. This first step, recognizing that the gut holds such influence, opens the door to a new way of thinking about diabetes. Instead of endlessly battling symptoms, you can start addressing the root cause. And once you understand this, you'll see why the gut is not just a digestive organ, but a true control center for energy, weight, mood, and yes, blood sugar. Now, as we move deeper into this journey, you'll discover exactly how the tiny microorganisms in your intestines act like a hidden laboratory, producing substances that can either help or harm your body's ability to manage sugar. If you've ever felt stuck with your diabetes, unable to see progress despite your efforts, what comes next will explain why. So type gut power in the comments if you're ready to uncover how these invisible allies or enemies are controlling your blood sugar without you even knowing it. And remember, stay with me until the final chapter, because the message waiting for you at the end of this video might be the missing piece you've been searching for. Now that we've uncovered the hidden link between the gut and diabetes, it's time to take a closer look at what actually happens inside this internal universe. Imagine for a moment that your intestines are not just tubes that digest food, but rather a highly sophisticated laboratory filled with billions of tiny workers, bacteria, each producing chemical compounds that either help you thrive or slowly sabotage your health. These microscopic organisms decide in large part how your body handles sugar. And here's the astonishing truth. Depending on which bacteria dominate, your gut can either protect you from diabetes or push you toward it. Let's start with the good guys. Beneficial bacteria feed on fibers and plant compounds that your body cannot digest on its own. In doing so, they create short-chain fatty acids, molecules with powerful effects. One of their main roles is slowing down the absorption of glucose in the intestine, preventing those sudden spikes and crashes that make diabetes so hard to control. But their work doesn't stop there. They also send signals directly to the liver, instructing it to release sugar into the bloodstream more carefully, even while you sleep. This means that thanks to the right bacteria, your body can maintain steady blood sugar throughout the night, protecting you from those frustrating morning highs that seem to appear out of nowhere. But what happens when the balance tips in the wrong direction? When harmful bacteria take over, the story changes dramatically. Some of these microbes thrive on processed foods and sugars, creating toxic byproducts that inflame the gut lining. This inflammation sends distress signals throughout the body, forcing the immune system to stay on high alert. Over time, this constant alarm triggers resistance to insulin, the very condition at the heart of type 2 diabetes. In other words, your body produces insulin, but your cells no longer respond to it efficiently. The result? Blood sugar climbs higher and higher, and medications often become less effective. Scientists call these bacterial patterns enterotypes, and they are like different operating systems running inside your body. One enterotype, dominated by harmful strains, promotes inflammation and insulin resistance. Another, richer in protective species, acts as a natural shield, supporting insulin's work and calming inflammation. The good news? Your enterotype is not destiny. In fact, research shows that with targeted changes to diet and lifestyle, you can shift from a harmful enterotype to a protective one in as little as 3 to 4 months. That's right. Within a single season, your gut laboratory can be remodeled into a factory that helps control blood sugar naturally. Think of it this way. Every meal you eat is like casting a vote. A vote for the bacteria that help you, or a vote for those that harm you. Day after day, those votes add up, and eventually one group wins dominance. If you keep feeding the good bacteria, they will multiply, produce more beneficial compounds, and gradually tip the balance in your favor. But if you constantly nourish the bad ones with processed foods and sugars, they will continue to grow, spreading inflammation and keeping you trapped in a cycle of rising glucose. This discovery is a turning point. It shows that you're not powerless, that diabetes is not just a slow march of decline. Instead, you have a hidden team inside you that can be trained, supported, and transformed into allies. Imagine looking back in 3 months and realizing your gut bacteria are now working for you, not against you. Imagine waking up with steady energy, more control over your blood sugar, and even seeing improvements in weight and mood, all because you shifted the chemistry of your inner laboratory. So, let me ask you, if you knew your gut could be rebuilt in just a few months, wouldn't you want to start today? Type yes in the comments if you're ready to take back control, because what we're uncovering here is not just theory, it's the blueprint for transformation. And this brings us to a crucial question. If certain bacteria protect us, which ones are secretly destroying us from within? In the next chapter, we will expose the villains of the microbiome, the hidden bacteria that actively feed diabetes, poison the gut, and block your body's ability to heal. You'll also discover why something as common as antibiotics could silently increase your risk of diabetes, and how nature provides powerful, selective alternatives. Stay with me, because what's coming next may shock you, but it will also empower you with knowledge to fight back. And don't forget, at the end of this journey, a very important message awaits, one that could completely shift the way you see your health and your future. Up until now, we've seen how the gut can work as an ally in stabilizing blood sugar. But what happens when the wrong microbes take over? This is where the story turns darker, because not all bacteria are your friends. Some are, in fact, powerful. Enemies stealing your energy, inflaming your body, and feeding the very disease you're trying to escape. And the most surprising part is that many people carry these microbial villains without even knowing it. One of the key offenders is Staphylococcus aureus. Normally, this bacterium can live quietly in small amounts, but when conditions are favorable, especially in intestines already weakened by poor diet and frequent medications, it begins to dominate. What makes it so dangerous is the toxins it produces. These toxins damage the delicate lining of the gut, opening tiny cracks that allow harmful substances to leak into the bloodstream. Once inside, they trigger a storm of inflammation, forcing the immune system into constant battle mode. And as we now know, chronic inflammation is one of the main drivers of insulin resistance. But Staphylococcus aureus is not alone. Other aggressive microbes join forces, creating an environment that is almost tailor-made for diabetes to thrive. They reprogram certain cells in your gut and liver, making them extract more calories from the same amount of food. That means, even if you don't eat more, your body begins storing excess energy as fat. This partly explains why some people gain weight so easily, and why obesity so often walks hand in hand with type 2 diabetes. It's not simply a matter of willpower, it's biology hijacked by hostile bacteria. Even more concerning is the connection between antibiotics and these hidden enemies. Antibiotics are life-saving drugs when used correctly, but overuse has unintended consequences. They don't just kill the bacteria causing an infection, they also wipe out large parts of your beneficial gut community. This leaves an empty battlefield where resistant, harmful strains can spread like wildfire. Studies now show that people who take antibiotics frequently have a significantly higher risk of developing type 2 diabetes later in life. It's not because antibiotics directly raise blood sugar, but because they reshape the microbiome in a way that favors the very microbes that feed diabetes. But here's the empowering part. Nature offers its own solutions. Instead of relying only on pharmaceutical antibiotics that destroy everything in their path, you can use natural, selective antibiotics found in certain foods and herbs. Garlic, oregano oil, and even compounds in green tea can suppress harmful strains while leaving beneficial bacteria untouched. These natural defenders act like precision tools, trimming down the enemies without burning the entire forest. By adding them regularly to your diet, you can gradually weaken the grip of aggressive microbes and give your protective bacteria the space to grow back stronger. So how do you know if these hidden enemies are already inside you? Pay attention to subtle signs. Unexplained fatigue, frequent bloating, stubborn belly fat, and constant sugar cravings can all be linked to harmful bacteria producing chemical signals that push you toward eating more of what feeds them. It's as if these microbes are manipulating your brain, whispering, "Give us sugar, give us processed food." Once you realize this, you begin to see cravings not as a personal weakness, but as biological manipulation. And once you learn how to fight back, the cravings lose their power. This chapter reveals a hard truth. Diabetes is not only about sugar on your plate, it's about the invisible war happening inside your gut. The good news is that wars can be won and the tide can be turned. But to fight effectively, you must first identify the enemy. And now that you've met them, you can prepare to defend yourself. So tell me in the comments, type the number 2 if you've ever suspected that your cravings or stubborn blood sugar problems might not be your fault, but the result of something deeper happening inside. Because once you acknowledge this possibility, you open the door to transformation. And speaking of doors, this leads us directly to the next chapter, where we will explore how these harmful bacteria create literal openings in the gut wall, allowing toxins to flood the bloodstream. This condition, known as leaky gut, may be the single biggest trigger for the inflammation that fuels diabetes. You'll even learn a simple home test with beet juice to check your own gut's integrity, plus a powerful healing broth that begins the repair process. Stay with me, because things are about to get even more revealing. And don't forget, the most important message is still waiting for you at the very end of this journey. We've seen how certain bacteria can quietly sabotage your health from within, but their most dangerous weapon is the damage they inflict on the walls of your intestine. Imagine your gut lining as a fine mesh, a protective barrier that decides what can enter your bloodstream and what must stay out. When healthy, it works like a perfect filter, allowing nutrients to pass through while blocking toxins, bacteria, and undigested particles. But when this barrier weakens, it begins to leak. Scientists call this condition increased intestinal permeability, or more commonly, leaky gut. And it may very well be the hidden doorway through which diabetes walks into your life. To understand this, picture your gut wall as a sieve. Under normal circumstances, the holes are tiny, just the right size for nutrients to slip through. But when harmful bacteria and their toxins attack, or when poor diet and stress apply constant pressure, the holes widen. Now, substances that should never enter your bloodstream seep through. These include bacterial fragments, inflammatory molecules, and bits of undigested food. Once they escape the gut and enter circulation, your immune system perceives them as invaders. The result? A constant state of low-grade inflammation that wears down your defenses day after day. Inflammation is not always bad. It's the body's natural response to protect you from injury or infection. But when it becomes chronic, it changes the way your cells respond to insulin. Think of insulin as a key that unlocks the door to let sugar enter your cells. Inflammation is like rust building up on that lock, making it harder and harder for the key to turn. Eventually, no matter how much insulin is produced, the doors don't open properly. Blood sugar rises, medications are increased, and frustration grows. But the root cause isn't only in your pancreas, it's in the invisible leaks of your gut. A protein called zonulin acts like the gatekeeper of your gut lining. When zonulin levels rise, the tight junctions between intestinal cells loosen, making the sieve even more porous. Research shows that people with diabetes often have elevated zonulin, suggesting their gut barrier is compromised. The question, then, is how do you know if your gut is leaking? While laboratory tests exist, there's also a simple home experiment. Drink a glass of beet juice. If your urine or stools take on a reddish color soon after, it could mean your gut lining is letting larger molecules slip through than it should. This is not a medical diagnosis, but it can serve as a personal wake-up call. The good news is that leaky gut is not permanent. Just as the body can heal a wound on your skin, it can repair the lining of your intestine if you give it the right tools. One of the most effective ways to start is with a healing broth rich in collagen, gelatin, and minerals. Picture this as giving your gut the bricks and mortar it needs to patch the holes in the wall. By sipping on such broths regularly, you provide nutrients that help rebuild the tight junctions, calm inflammation, and restore integrity. Over time, your protective barrier strengthens, preventing toxins from escaping and giving your immune system a much-needed rest. As your gut heals, something remarkable happens. Insulin begins to work more efficiently again. Blood sugar stabilizes. More easily, cravings become less intense and energy flows more steadily throughout the day. You're not just repairing an organ, you're restoring communication between your gut, your immune system, and your metabolism. So let me ask you, if you could close the leaks that fuel inflammation and make diabetes worse, wouldn't that be worth trying? Type "seal the gut" in the comments if you believe repairing the barrier could be the missing piece in your journey. And here's the transition to our next step. Knowing that leaks in the gut wall drive inflammation and resistance, how can you take practical action to reverse the process? What foods must you cut out immediately? And what powerful foods can you add to repopulate your gut with friendly bacteria? In the next chapter, we will lay out a clear three-phase plan designed not just to heal, but to transform your gut into an ally for life. It's the roadmap you've been waiting for. Stay with me, because the journey is about to become very practical. And remember, at the end of this video lies an important message that ties all of this together. We've uncovered how bacteria shape your blood sugar, how harmful strains inflame your body, and how leaky gut acts as the hidden gateway to diabetes. Now comes the most important part. What can you actually do about it? This is where theory becomes action. It's time to equip yourself with a clear, practical roadmap. A three-phase plan that guides you from where you are today to a future where your gut supports you, not sabotages you. Think of it as training your internal ecosystem, step by step until it becomes a self-sustaining ally. The first phase is cleansing. This lasts about 2 weeks and is all about removing what harms your microbiome. For this short period, you eliminate sugar, gluten, and most dairy from your diet. Why these? Sugar feeds harmful bacteria, gluten can increase gut permeability, and dairy often fuels inflammation in sensitive people. By cutting these out, you starve the enemies inside and give your gut a chance to breathe. Some people fear this phase, thinking it will be restrictive. But here's the truth. It's temporary and it's powerful. Imagine it as clearing weeds. From a garden, you're making space for new life to flourish. The second phase is restoration, lasting about 4 weeks. Now that the weeds are cleared, it's time to plant new seeds. This means introducing foods that actively repopulate your gut with beneficial bacteria. Fermented foods take center stage here. Kefir, sauerkraut, kvass, kimchi, and natural yogurt. Alongside them, high-quality probiotic supplements can help accelerate the process. These friendly microbes are like reinforcements arriving to reclaim the territory. At the same time, prebiotic foods like onions, garlic, and Jerusalem artichokes act as fertilizer, feeding the good bacteria and helping them multiply. During this phase, many people notice shifts, less bloating, more stable energy, and even lighter moods. That's the gut-brain connection at work, showing how powerful this restoration truly is. The third phase is maintenance, and this is where long-term transformation happens. Once your gut has been cleansed and repopulated, you adopt a lifestyle that keeps it balanced for good. The principle here is simple: 80-20. 80% of your diet should consist of foods that nurture a healthy microbiome, fiber-rich vegetables, fermented foods, lean proteins, and healthy fats. The other 20% gives you flexibility. This means you don't need to live in restriction or fear. You can still enjoy a slice of cake at a birthday or a favorite comfort meal, knowing that your foundation is strong. In fact, this balance makes the plan sustainable, turning it from a temporary program into a way of life. Now, you might be wondering, how fast will I see results? For many people, digestion improves within a week of phase 1. By phase 2, blood sugar starts stabilizing more consistently, and by the end of phase 3, around 3 months, some individuals even reduce their need for medication under medical supervision. This timeline isn't magic, it's biology responding to consistent care. Your gut has remarkable power to heal, and once it does, your entire metabolism begins to shift. Let me ask you something. If 3 months from now, your doctor told you your blood sugar was under better control, your energy had returned, and your medications could potentially be reduced, wouldn't you say those 12 weeks were worth it? If your answer is yes, type "I'm ready" in the comments, because commitment is the first step to transformation. This 3-phase plan is not about punishment or perfection, it's about partnership. You're partnering with your own body, giving it the conditions to heal naturally. For years, people have been told that diabetes is a one-way road, that decline is inevitable. But when you repair the gut, you prove otherwise. You show that renewal is possible at any age, and that health can be rebuilt from the inside out. And here's where our journey naturally flows forward. You now know the structure, the 3 phases, but what exactly should you eat within this framework? What recipes can make the process not only effective, but also enjoyable? In the next chapter, I'll share powerful, practical recipes like beet kvass and homemade kefir that act as daily medicine for your microbiome. You'll also learn a step-by-step daily protocol to follow, from morning to night, that turns this plan into an easy routine. Stay with me, because the kitchen is about to become your greatest tool for healing. And remember, the most important message is still waiting at the end of this video, a message that ties everything together and could redefine your future with diabetes. The intestine and pancreas are like 2 musicians in the same orchestra. One sets the rhythm, the other provides harmony. When the microbiome is in balance, the intestine sends clear signals, allowing the pancreas to release insulin at the right time and in the right amount. But when intestinal bacteria are altered by poor diet, stress, or medications, this silent dialogue becomes confusing. The pancreas receives distorted information and begins to overproduce insulin, or in other cases, to not produce enough. This mismatch triggers a chain reaction that can result in the resistance typical of type 2 diabetes. Understanding this dialogue and restoring its balance is like fine-tuning an instrument. It requires time, patience, and conscious choices, but the transformation is noticeable. And the good news is that every person has the ability to restore this inner harmony through daily decisions. If you've made it this far, it's because your soul is ready for a deeper understanding. The intestine is not only a physical organ, it is an energetic portal, a center where emotions, memories, and ancestral patterns accumulate. When you heal your gut, you're not just taking care of digestion, you are cleansing layers of emotional and spiritual weight that may have blocked your true vitality. The awakening begins when you realize that health does not come from outside, but is cultivated from within. This is the secret that many overlook. Diabetes, in many cases, is not only a physical imbalance, but also a call to transformation. By listening to your body and honoring your inner dialogue, you open the door to a more conscious, lighter, and empowered life. Now, I invite you to reflect. What inner change is your body asking of you today? Write it in the comments, because sharing is the first step toward healing.